Welcome to my show, simply entitled Women Influencers, where you will find inspirational stories of successful women in business. I am Veronica Malolos, CCIM, founder and CEO of the Capstrata Group of Companies, providing commercial real estate development, brokerage, and property management services in the greater Orlando area. Today's guest is Jessica Johnson-Kelley, CCIM, commercial real estate top producer, retail expert, industry leader, and recently a pastor's wife. Hers is a truly inspiring story. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe below. I welcome your comments and please share with someone who can benefit from this podcast. Hi, Jessica. How are you today?
Hey, Veronica. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. And thank you so much for being here today. I just can't wait to hear your story. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump right in. Tell us, Jessica, how you grew up in your environment and how you got to where you are today.
So I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and some of the things that I did growing up, actually, looking back, planted some seeds in my head. And it's so funny you asked this question because I literally was just telling my husband this the other day. He's like, "Where did you get your aspirations for retail? You walk into a retail place and the dopamines just go through the roof, right?" And it's not that it's retail therapy, although that's the bonus. It's that I can walk in and I smell it and I love it and I feel it. And that's what I do. I focus on retail and commercial real estate. And then I told him the story of how my grandmother used to always take me to the department stores. We would go to Dillard's, which dates myself, and JCPenney. And we didn't even have a belt back then. But every time it was back to school, we'd flip through the Sears magazine and we'd circle all the outfits we wanted to do. And then she would take us in. And my grandmother, throughout my entire life, would send me clippings of fashions that were coming in. This is how the college kids dress. This is what young women look like in the career world. And so looking back, she planted a seed in me on retail for commercial real estate, and which is what I do. So that's one of the things that kind of got me to where I am and helped mold me to be in the retail industry.
I love it when someone tells me about a grandmother or their own mother or some best friend who actually inspired them and opened their eyes to kind of where they ended up being. So tell me more.
Okay, so my grandmother is probably all what you just said. She was my while I have a mother, she was the one who raised me and taught me all the etiquettes that I didn't know were etiquettes at the time. She was very hard and stern when she needed to be, but she ultimately was my best friend. And she lived to be 98, and she's my ghee. I absolutely love her, and she helped create in me that tenacity of life. And she always said, and I would love to live to where she is, which I'm only halfway there, so I need to work on that. However, she said, never stop moving, just never stop moving. And so I keep her picture right here on my desk with the a little piece of paper she sent to me before she passed away. She sits right here on my desk as a reminder.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Now, did she inspire you or encourage you to
Absolutely.
go to college?
She did. She did all of that. She inspired me and she did put me through college. She also took me to all of my cheerleading camps and my softballs. And she paid for my wedding my wedding dress.
Yes.
And she just kind of was always there for me, my biggest cheerleader. I did not know what a cheerleader was until, later on in life. But looking back, she was definitely the most influential, amazing woman I've ever encountered.
That's awesome. Well, so tell me about college.
Well, so college was fun. And I started out doing speech language pathology and thinking I was going to be in occupational therapy and work with phonetics. And I took a next elective and I really liked it. And it was in the business world. And I just kind of changed my gears and started thinking about doing business. So I graduated not in 4 years. I did start having a family and I decided to not finish school. So I finished school later in life. I have 5 children. Decided after the end of the 3 boys that I would finish my college degree. And so I did finish my college degree online and I was a stay-at-home mom and raised my 3 boys. And so at night, after I laid them down, I would work on college. And
Mm,
that created the real estate for me.
I see. When you say that created the real estate, there must have been something that happened, at least an opportunity or a door open to you
Yeah.
that made you move into real estate. Tell us about that.
So I had a lot of friends that were doing real estate, and I was very interested in the negotiation of it and the curtains and the countertops, and I started out residential. So I decided after I got my online degree and my grandmother flew in and we went up to the Jefferson Memorial, which was one of my favorite memorials, and I bought a cap and gown online, and her and I went up and took our own little photos, and we had our own little ceremony. I decided I wanted to do real estate, and so I just started to do online real estate and then in person. It was a hybrid. And I was pregnant with twins. So now I have 3 boys and 2 on the way, and I'm doing real estate. And so I did it so that if I bought a house, I could save myself 3%.
I love it. I love it. Well, tell
That's
me,
the truth. That's the truth.
how did you end up being in commercial real estate? I mean, residential is so very different from commercial real estate. I know because I also practiced residential real estate for at least 12 years and, invested in my own real estate.
Absolutely. And I did residential real estate for 7. And someone tapped on me. I'm a big player in community involvement. I love to get back in the community. I do at least one organization for my professional life. I do an organization for my personal life. And someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, have you ever thought about doing commercial?" And I thought, no. And so then they said, "You should." So I started doing some research, and there was a local little boutique firm in Roanoke, Virginia that I absolutely adored, and I was introduced to, the 2 owners, and I really enjoyed that conversation with them, but they were not looking to hire. So I had to sell them on who I was and that I was worth the hire, and I had never done commercial real estate ever in my life, but I knew that I I knew what I was, and I knew what I could bring to the table, and I just needed to sell them on who JJ was, right? And so I took him
Right.
out for lunch. I emailed him and said, "I'd like to take you on a lunch date." I took him out, and I told him about me, and we just kinda chatted, and at the end of lunch, he said, "You have an offer if you'd like to come join our firm." And I've never looked back.
So, commercial real estate, and you decided to get your CCIM designation, who, by the way, for my audience who has listened to a lot of my guests, and by the way, we just did our 100th episode. Uh,
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. CCIM has always been floated around in my episode. So, for those of you out there who are listening and you don't know what CCIM is, I'm not even going to bother about what the acronym stands for. It's really just the Global Organization of Commercial Real Estate Experts. And so you pursued your CCIM designation.
Correct. So the firm that I was mentioning, when I got on, they had back in the day the intro to CCIM, and there was a lot of CCIM folks in that firm that I joined, and I took an intro course and started moving through the program of all the courses that were offered through CCIM. And then halfway through, I got tapped on the shoulder to join a larger national firm. Actually, it's a global firm, Cushman Wakefield, and to do retail. I switched over from doing basically a generalist, doing everything, to now just focusing on retail. And I'm in a tertiary market, and they thought, "Oh, you might still want to keep your office in your industrial." Um, my first year, I only made $13,000, but I knew who I was. That's always every spreadsheet I did, that's always the column that I cannot account for is what I bring to the table and who I am and what I can do. And I have been so blessed with opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and I have grown. And now here I am, 13 years later, still doing real estate and now focusing on retail.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. And I know you remarried, correct?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did. I did.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So again, going back to the getting involved in your community, I do one for professional, and that's my CCIM. I have dove right in on that. As you know, I'm the past president of the Mid-Atlantic chapter here, and now I'm on the board of directors for the Global Institute. And so I'm really excited about all the committee work that you and I both continue to do. And we did JWL together. And
Yep.
then what I started thinking about is my personal involvement and my relationship and my faith. And so I started getting back into that and learning, going through Rooted program and facilitating a Rooted program where I met my husband, who is a preacher. And we have been married for a little over a year now. And I am a preacher's
Newlyweds.
wife, and I'm a commercial real estate, and I'm a mother of 5. So lots going on. Very blessed.
That's so amazing. So amazing, JJ. Let me ask you about challenges. Now, you've been through different stages and different seasons of your life, and now being married, just newly married to a pastor. If there was one challenge that came to mind that you overcame, what would that be?
I would say I'm going to focus on the personal side of it, and that is I was given some incredible advice early in my real estate career that I think is incredible advice for any career, especially for young moms. And that is this: your family is your first client. And so do not hesitate to put them into your calendar and put that softball schedule, that baseball schedule, that soccer, that PTA in your calendar so that you are there for your family.
Mm,
Because clients are going to come around that corner all the time, and a deal's going to come around the corner all the time. But your family, you only get limited time with underneath the roof, and that was important to me. So, someone once said, family is important, and therefore it makes it to your calendar. So, granted, having that comes to the second part is having a healthy balance between your work life and your professional life. A lot of people are so surprised, and I'm very regimented about this, is that I do not text clients at
mm,
all, and I
mm.
do not work Saturdays and Sundays through texting. If there's something I need to finish up, then I will do, but I don't text clients because they don't have access to me 24/7 like they think that they should, and I carve out that time for my family. I even have a master broker who calls me and his voicemail says, "I know you're not answering because you're with your family and I respect that. But when you come around to listening to my voicemail, this is what I want you to follow up on." So for me, I would say the biggest challenge I overcame was finding that healthy balance because you don't want to lose your career to your family. You don't want to
Yeah,
lose your family to your career.
that's
And
right.
I coached I coached my girls softball for years. I coached my boys baseball for years. I mean, I did all that I could, but I also carved out time and the kids knew when I was working, when I was not. So I would say my biggest challenge was finding that healthy balance. And sometimes I fail a lot. But my kids see that in me. They see that I carve out time for my work, but they also see I carve out time for them.
Yeah, and isn't this the biggest question always for people who have a professional career? How do you
Yeah.
balance work with life and life with work and
Yeah.
your personal peace, right? And being able to really recognize that you yourself as a person, apart
Yeah.
from being a professional, apart from being a family person, really need to balance also love for yourself, right? So that's amazing. That's really powerful. So let me ask you about influence.
Yeah.
If there was one outcome that you're most proud of that you had influence on, what would that be?
So I'm going to touch on a personal and professional because I think I have, and when I say I feel like I have influenced, I would say that I felt a little satisfaction in my stomach going, you know what? They actually were listening. They're actually paying, this is working. And that would one be that family dynamic I was explaining to you. I used to take my kids, if I had to go do canvassing or go work a market and do site selection, I would take my twins with me and then give them a notebook. And one of them would have the camera and the other one has a notebook. Take a picture of that building, take a picture of that sign, write these notes down. And so through all that, then we'd stop and have food. We stayed at a hotel. Um, but my daughter's sending me messages about real estate, and then she's talking about commercial real estate. And my son called me one day, and he's like, "Mom," he's at a college, and he said, "Hey, this Wednesday's just put up a sign that said they're closing." Well, I made a few phone calls. Next thing you know, I've got it under contract and a tenant, and no one else knew about it because my son goes to college and it hadn't even been marketed yet. So I thought that was a great influence that they have seen what hard work is and what due diligence is and the return of that. So I've taken care of my family very well when they connect me in that such a way. And then the professional side, I would say, was my time at the Mid Atlantic chapter. I rose through the ranks from a committee standpoint. I jumped on that committee because there wasn't one in my market. And I said, hey, if you want to see a change, be a part of a change, though I got in, I'm typically a dig in kind of girl. But when I started growing with that committee from a board to the executive board, by the time I got up to the presidency, there was such a camaraderie and community with those people. We had a great time making a difference in the Mid-Atlantic and all of our conferences and our events and our social functions. I really like that. And from that, I have gotten a lot of feedback of, hey, can you kind of help me guide some of this? What is it that you did here? So people kind of have come back to me where I've kind of become a mentor. And to me, that's a great honor.
Yeah, and mentorship, that
Yeah.
is probably the best way you can give back,
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
having people come to you, I think that's amazing
Mhm.
because that is a validation
Yes.
that they see you do the good things that actually can help with really, really great outcomes. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jessica, I know you've been so good at really expressing what you do and what kind of positive outcomes you have. But I'm going to ask you again, if there was one piece of advice that you could give our audience today, what would that be?
I believe wholeheartedly, and this is the answer has surfaced for me multiple times that in this industry that I'm in, and I think this can apply to most industries. The two key points is communication and relationships. When you communicate effectively and you build relationships with people, you will build a foundation of trust and networking and collaboration that will just pay you and yield you dividends for years to come. If I listen long enough, that guy said no here, but then he said yes here, or this guy wanted to sell here, and it's just a matchmaking for me. But I love the fact that if you build relationships, when I go to my functions that I'm a part of, it's being with I call them my firm family. For years, every time I'm with a firm, I call them my firm family. I spend more time with them than I do my own children waking hours. So you ought to like where you are and the people you're with. And
Yeah.
I think that my nuggets would be pay attention to communication. So many people just fall short from responding and the follow up. Writing letters, just being present is so important. Relationships and communication for me are two pivotal things that can really be game changers in your career.
Thank you. I mean, that's really good advice, especially for our audience today who might still be building their careers or they're starting out in their profession. And even like you said, in any other industry,
Yeah,
that is really two pillars that if you make it strong and you build it as a foundation of what you do, I mean, like you said, it's going to pay you back dividends for years. So thank
yeah,
you for that. Well,
yeah.
JJ, we have come to the part of our interview where you get to
Okay,
ask me a question.
okay.
So please go ahead.
At what point in your career did you sit back and go, you know what? I'm here. I have arrived to the moment that I knew I should be at and that I could be at, and here I am. What was that moment? What was that defining pivotal moment? And again, we all have graphs that go up and to the right, so there's gonna be another one after that, right? But what's the talk to me about the first one that really made you sit back and go, you know what? This feels good. I did it.
Well, thanks for the question. What a great question. I will tell you that, like you, I have spent many years learning the craft of being a, a great broker and somebody who can serve a client well. And
Mhm,
at the end of the day, it's about wealth building, right?
mhm,
We
mhm.
are in the business of wealth building. And to answer your question, it was when I reframed my mind to
Great.
wealth building for myself and my family,
Mhm.
applying all of my knowledge and my expertise to be able to bring opportunities of wealth building, not just to myself, but to my children. And to be honest with you, my sisters, I have four sisters. And we recently I just came from our spa. We opened a franchise of a wellness spa,
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we bought a building, new build construction. And let me tell you, it's been such an amazing feeling of validation and also a feeling of satisfaction to know that I've shared my knowledge and actually created wealth, not just for myself, but for people that I care about. So I think that when you ask the question as to how I reflect in my career, I think this would be the moment where I think that I am now moving into to wealth building, not just for my clients, which is important to me too, because that's how we serve our clients. It's about building wealth. It's now about building wealth for myself and for the rest of my family. So thank you for that question. I love that
Absolutely.
question. So thank you. So JJ, if my audience wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Perfect. So I'm going to give you both my email as well as my cell phone number. So my email is Jessica at JohnsonKelley, KELLEYCRE.com. That's the website, JohnsonKelleyCRE.com. And then my cell phone number, best number to reach me, but don't text me, is 540-986-5248.
And you're open to someone maybe reaching out, asking you a question, maybe mentor.
Absolutely.
That's
I
awesome.
find young brokers all the time in my industry, and when I see someone who really has the knack, I would do not hesitate to breathe into them and going, "Hey, I may not be your mentor, but you've got something that you need to polish off because we need you. People like you are important, and I love what I'm seeing." I've got a guy in Nebraska that just is amazing, and if he was here, I would hire him in a heartbeat, but he is hungry and he's diligent, and I love that. I love the aspiration of these young folks, and even the ones that's kind of flipped over a new chapter and going, you know what, I'm going to give this a chance. I've got credible brokers in commercial real estate that came from the lending institution world or an appraiser. So I would love to speak to any opportunity that feels the need to reach out.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, JJ. Well, I really enjoyed our time together. I hope you did too.
I
And so
did.
I'm going to say farewell and not goodbye because I know I'll see you again soon.
Yes.
And I wish you all the very best with your new marriage and of course, your career and your family. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. And I have one thing to say to you. I want to say kudos to you for when you spoke about what your movement was that made you feel good. So many times people run from that opportunity because it's too much or too fearful. It's something that just seems a mountain too hard to climb. And I want to applaud you for you ran towards it instead of from it. And then because of it, you are now reaping the benefits. So I am really excited to see what that adventure brings for you and your sisters.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And when you're in Florida, come check out our spa.
I will. I will.
All right. Well, take care, JJ. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.